Are you looking for an emergency radio for your home, bug out bag, or RV? Well, you've selected the right video. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of electronic gadgets, including audio and video tools, action cameras, and like this one, radio-related products and tools. As always, if you find this video helpful, please click on the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. I really appreciate it. In this video, we're going to take a look at a fairly small multi-band radio from Kaito. This version of the popular KA500 model, the Voyager KA500L, was first on Amazon in 2016, so it's been around a while. The previous version, the KA500, which is still sold by the way, arrived on the scene in 2009. The fact that these radios are still popular choices speaks to their overall quality and feature set. There were two things that drew me to this radio. First is the multiple bands the radio tunes, including AM, FM, shortwave, and NOAA weather channels. Second is the multiple ways you can power the radio, including a large rechargeable LiPo battery, solar panels, a dynamo crank, USB in, and AC adapter. This variety really adds value if your plan is to use this as an emergency radio. When you add in a variety of colors and weather alert function, I was sold. Let's take a look at what comes in the box and the features of this little emergency radio. So let's take a look at this Kaito KA500L Voyager emergency radio. Here's the box that it comes in. Looking pretty good. I happen to get the yellow version. It comes in a couple of different colors. So let's see what the radio looks like and what else comes in the box. There's a little bit of paperwork that comes in the box. It's got a warranty folder that gives you your warranty rights there. It's got a charging addendum to the instructions if you want to use the optional AC charger. Explains how to do that. And then of course the user's manual, which is all in English. It's got a lot of pictures and it explains each of the various functions that are here in the radio. If you're familiar with radios, it's pretty easy to figure out, but the instructions are pretty good and pretty well illustrated. So let's do a little tour of the outside of the radio. We'll start at the top. We can see there where we've got a switch. We can move it to the reading light, which is underneath the solar panel that I'll show you in a minute. And then we can switch it to the flashlight, which is just a little LED right here. And then there's a blinking light here if there needs to be some kind of a attention grabber right there. So that's what we've got here on the top. On this side of the radio, we've got the LED that I just showed you. You've got the tuning knob and tuning volume right there. There's nothing on the bottom, just the case itself. On this side of the radio is the dynamo crank, and it just comes out and you can make the turn to use this as one of the ways to power the radio, which is kind of handy. It's got like these 4 or 5 ways that you can power this radio, and the dynamo is one of those. On the back, there are a couple things to point out. Here's the compartment for the battery, and it just, slides out. And it's a 2000 milliamp hour rechargeable lithium round style battery that fits back there. Here is the solar panel. Now, what makes this the 500L versus the 500 is this solar panel is about twice as big as the 500, so this is an improvement to that radio. And then up under here are the LEDs for the reading light I mentioned to you just a moment ago. Here is the extendable antenna, and we'll turn this on and probably connect an external antenna to this to better the reception. These little antennas, especially in the shortwave area, aren't that effective. It's not a function of this radio. It's pretty much the same for all of them. And then behind this little black cover, there's some interesting little things. First, there's the AC plug-in right there. You've got the plug-in for headphones right up there. And then you've got two USB connectors. Now, the USB alpha connector at the bottom you can plug in and use the power in this radio's battery to charge your cell phone if you wanted to, or you could use a power bank or a regular phone style wall wart charger and plug it into that micro USB for an input to charge the battery of this radio. So you can charge out or you can charge in. The little switch right there turns these switches on. So right now it's to the left, so it's off, and to turn it to the right, it's on, and that would activate these little switches right here. Now on the front of the radio, of course, we've got the speaker here, and then we've got this tuning panel, and I kind of like this analog look of tuning panels where you're moving a dial across the numbers on the display. I think this is a digital radio, so we're actually tuning a digital signal processor, not a big capacitor or but anyway, that's the look that I like. So that's one of the reasons why I went with this radio. So you can see we've got the AM band, the FM band, and then the shortwave bands from about 3.2 megahertz up to 22 megahertz are in these two rows. And then you make your selections here. And so this is set to FM, AM, shortwave 1, shortwave 2. And then here is the master power switch. And so if you want to turn the radio on, you just turn it to solar, crank, DC, which basically is all the ways you can power this radio. Or you can turn it to the NOAA alert, in which case if they issue a severe weather warning from the NOAA system, the radio will pick that up. Now, the weather channels you can set by moving the switch to where it says weather. It has 7 channels. Those are the 7 channels used by NOAA to broadcast weather, and those will depend upon where you are. So where I am, southern and central Arizona is on channel 7. So if we turn this on,
highs 93 to 97. East wind around 5 miles per hour in the morning, becoming west 5 to 10.
So you can hear the NOAA weather report and forecast for this area. Depending on where you are, you're going to choose another channel. So that's a quick tour of the radio itself. You can see it's not too big, but it's not too small either. It's got a nice little carrying case right here. And so next we'll take this outside. I've got an external antenna I want to try with it that I use with all of my little portable shortwave, especially shortwave radios. And we'll see how this sounds and how it works. If you're serious about shortwave radio listening, you'll want to have an external antenna of some type. Probably the easiest is a long wire antenna with a clip to connect to the telescoping antenna on the radio. I'll link to one in the description below. Poor reception on the shortwave bands is pretty much the case with all shortwave radios of this type, so you'll want an external antenna. Since you're not transmitting, the wire can be of any length, as it doesn't have to be resonant on any single frequency for receive-only use. In this video clip, I'll be tuning through the bands after dark to maximize shortwave reception. I'll be using the external clip-on wire antenna I've linked below. As I said before, for shortwave, an external antenna makes a huge difference, and they're cheap. So we're out here on the patio and I've got an external antenna available to me. But before we get into the shortwave bands, let's look at the regular broadcast bands that you're used to using, the AM and the FM bands. So I'm not sure if you can hear some of the road noise around me or not, but I wanted to be outside here where the radio reception is a little bit better. The sun's been down about 45 minutes, so we're just kind of at the tail end of that gray line time period. So let's start out by looking at the FM. So as we start to tune,
So likewise, whosoever he be of you,
you
that
can see the
forsaketh
tuning
not all that he hath,
light comes on.
who cannot be my disciple.
Creating beauty by leaving things out.
Because he's putting a bazillion miles on it, and he's...
So we're in an urban setting, so there are a lot of FM stations, but this is picking up a lot more than I normally get, say, for example, on my car's radio. So it's got a good FM tuner on it. We've adjusted the tuner back to the beginning of the AM band, so let's see what we get when we're talking about AM reception.
All right, so, okay. I think we should have like an alternative form of justice. Well, pretty darn good. With straight talk, you can get 25. Well, St. Louis County, Facebook.
So we're here in Phoenix, not too far from the Mexico border, and so we've got a strong Hispanic community here, so there's a bunch of Spanish stations, and some of them are coming up from Mexico itself. So we've got some pretty good reception here in the AM band as well. So let's jump down to the shortwave band, and we'll see what we can find down there without the external antenna to start with.
You don't have to get yourself ready. The truth is, you can't. No one can. Come to him.
That's 10 megahertz, WWV you hear in the background. So let's click on the external antenna. We're just going to clip it to the extendable antenna on the radio and see if we do a little bit better. Again, shortwave radio broadcasts can be a little touchy. The bands are not that good right now due to sun activity. And then a small antenna, it kind of behaved the way I would have expected it to. So let's put this external antenna on. Okay, so we're going to go back downward through that band that we just looked at and see how we do. There's some religious programming happening there at about 7.9 megahertz.
And here you got to receive it.
Now we're going to go up at that shortwave 2 band, and we'll be starting there at that 10 megahertz. Hopefully we can find WWV again. Some Spanish language music. There's WWV on 15 megahertz. Now we'll switch over to the NOAA bands.
Cloudy. High 70. Flagstaff. Tonight, mostly clear. Tuesday, breezy.
So there you have it. Some of the signal strength. The FM sounded really good, and the receiver's really very sensitive in that band. AM, not too bad either. Of course, it's noisier. The AM bands always are. And then the shortwave bands are certainly usable on this little radio. The close ones you can get, WWV. The close one for me is probably coming from Denver, and so several 100 miles away, and we're able to receive that time signal, and then some of the other signals that we heard. If you're seriously looking for shortwave, you maybe take use of that Skywave Schedule app, so you could really focus your attention on frequencies where you know something's being broadcast. So that's where we are with the sound quality of this little guy. The other thing you need to be aware of is that if you're planning to listen in on ham radio conversations, this radio won't do that very well. Most hams use a single sideband transmission mode that this radio doesn't include. Commercial shortwave broadcasts usually don't use this single sideband, so those stations will come in just fine. If shortwave listening and single sideband is your primary goal rather than preparedness, I'll link to a review I did for another radio that has single sideband tuning capability on the end card to this video. As you may have been able to see in the tuning clip, the shortwave band covers 90 through 41 meters in band 1 and 31 through 15 meters in band 2. If you're in an area targeted by one of the big shortwave broadcasters, or if the bands are wide open, you'll be able to pick up shortwave signals from all over the world. There are a couple of smartphone apps that list scheduled shortwave broadcasts to help you search out signals. The one I like is called Skywave Schedules. Check your app store. I'm planning to use this radio in my RV. A simple but capable radio on the picnic table or next to my camp chair while I'm enjoying nature, and the ability to scan the shortwave bands in the late evening is something I've been looking forward to. While power outages aren't much of a bother where I live, having a radio with a variety of power sources is nice to have. I'm sure many of you who live in snow country or on the coast will appreciate having a device with a variety of charging modes that can help you stay informed during inclement weather or other emergency. So far, the Voyager KA500L has performed well and is a welcome addition to my camping tools and emergency kit. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please click the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching.